Hi, this is May. Welcome to another Google Hangout, Hot Life, Hot Love. And I'm here. Today's not a we, today's a me. Usually I have my partner, Lucas Roy Lehman, with me, but he is in jail right now. No. He coaches for the prisons over in San Quentin, and they invited him for lunch today. But I like saying that. He's in jail right now. Anyway, I have with me a very dear guest. Her name is Mary Liu, and we are talking about shame today. Super fun and hot. And the reason why I thought this topic would be so important for us to talk about today is you can't have a hot life and hot love if you have shame. You know, it just covers everything up, and it makes everything we want so unattainable and so far away. And even if we have what we want, our shame will shut us down and make us resist and make us pull away from it. So I have with me Mary Liu, who is it okay if I call you a shame expert? Because that's what just came out.
Hi, May. Thank you for inviting me to this hangout and sharing my wisdom with your viewers. I actually wouldn't consider myself a shame expert per se, but what I have, what I know about shame is I've lived through it. For 46 years, you know, in that regard, yes, I am an expert because of life experience.
This is so good already. You can tell we're diving deep already. Here we go, you know. So before we share the vulnerable stuff, I'd love to give you a little bit more information about Mary. Mary is, I met Mary because she is the managing director for eWomen in San Francisco. And she is just the most gracious woman I've met, and I was so scared. I'm like, I want to talk about eWomen and I want to speak there, and she's so gracious, and she's been helping me and holding my hand throughout the process, and so it's giving me such a warm feeling toward the eWomen group and helping me enter a brand new playground with lots of players in there in a safe way. So I really appreciate that. I so appreciate how generous you have been to me.
Oh, you're welcome.
And then Mary also, on her business is Empowering Women. Is that right? I forget the name.
Empowered Women Speakers.
Empowered Women Speakers, that's right. And Mary's going to have a live event in September. Yeah, and she's actually taking applications for women who want to share their stories, their shame stories, and how they overcome it and how it impacts their life. And so if you have a delicious, yummy shame story that you'd like to share or want to get over with, or you know, want to help other women heal, please contact me or Mary Liu, L-I-U. She's on Facebook, very accessible, so you can find her there. So let's talk about shame.
Shame. You know, you talk about shame, most people don't even want to go there. It really is the silent epidemic. You know, everybody talks about everything else, the violence that comes, you know, with a lot of women that have gone through that. But when you're talking about shame, you do what? I don't want to go there. You know, it's such a hidden topic.
I was telling my partner, my assistant Nicole there, I'm like, I don't have any shame. Like, that's my relationship with shame. I'm like, I don't have any shame, you know. I'm all an open book and and then it always hits me by surprise, or a walk out to the elevator after something happened and I kind of feel uncomfortable. Then I'm like, oh, I do have shame about that, and I don't and I don't even understand it, and I don't even want to know how to understand it. So that's my contribution to the conversation.
Well, the thing is, you know that you have it. You know, everybody has it. And it's not just people who have gone through trauma that have shame. Everybody has some shame in their life, whether they work through it or not. You know, every single day. It's not like you can avoid it.
Yeah.
Shame can, how can you explain it to somebody? It's this feeling of when your stomach gets knotted up. something doesn't feel right. All of a sudden, somebody said something to you, and you get this tightness in your stomach, like, oh, that didn't feel good.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of what happens is it's not only the outside influence of what people share with you, you know, just little words. You know, words make a huge impact,
Yeah.
especially on children. And I know that from when my whole childhood of growing up with a lot of shame. But, you know, a lot of it, when you don't recognize it and when you don't deal with it, it really is your own little mind, your own little voice that is the biggest culprit of really keeping you in that shame.
Right, and it continues to just keep shaming us over and over and over again.
Right.
And it keeps, it's like quicksand or erosion. It keeps
Mm-hmm.
taking out from underneath us, right? So do you have something, like a specific story or a specific event that you think about or remind you of, or something that we can...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, give us one, and then I'll find one.
My shame story, like my whole mission right now is to have women, to support women to speak their truth and to have a voice so they can release their shame and their secrets that may be holding them back in their life, in their business, you know, in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And that's your favorite topic, right? You know, sex and hot love. But and for me, you know, it took me 46 years to finally release my shame. And my shame started the day I was born. I was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. So, and being born in a Chinese family, for those of you that can relate, it doesn't have to be even a Chinese family. It can be any culture. Yeah. But especially in a Chinese family, the girls are pretty much non-existent. And I grew up with 5 brothers. Oh, and you know, I came home with my straight A's, report cards, and giving it to my mom, and I didn't get any kind of recognition whatsoever. Right. And I always, and when my brothers would come home with their straight B's, you know, I would hear her on the phone saying, wow, he did such a great job and in school, and he's going to go places. And I was the one who was always trying to please her, always trying to get that love from her, which I never felt, never ever growing up. And not only with, you know, having to deal with all of my surgeries through my cleft palate, but being ridiculed when I was at school. You know, imagine when you're 5, 6, 7 years old and you have kids in the classroom just snickering behind your back, or at least I thought they were. Okay. They were probably, yes. Even growing up in my teenage years, having my brother's friends just making fun of me, and you know, it really didn't make me feel good. I had very low self-esteem, and it was very shameful. Yeah. And I just felt like I didn't want people to see me. I mean, I would never be on this Google Hangout and be this visible, you know, in those days, but it was... I'm
so proud of you. Look at you go. Oh my God. That is something so difficult, you know, and you just give us like this beautiful story, but each step of the way is so painful. Because when you say, you know, I was born in a Chinese family with cleft palate, it's like, dude, you have to understand. I don't know about other culture, but in the Asian culture, if there's something physically wrong with you, there is a whole shame for the family, not just shame on you. And you know, and they see it as like some kind of belief that the whole family did something wrong and they're being cursed or punished or something. So that's huge. And then you're carrying the projection from the family for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So, you know, I grew up a lot of times with my mom saying, because she had to bring me to the hospital so many times for my surgery, she would say, you know, you're so much trouble, you're so much trouble. And I didn't realize what kind of impact that had on me until in my adult years. Yeah. So having to deal with that. So at age 46, I started really taking some personal development courses. And it wasn't until the day that I was in a room full of 500 strangers, I raised my hand, you know, I wanted to share, and the facilitator on stage pointed to me And I rose up, and in my heart was thumping, thinking, oh my goodness, what am I going to be exposing myself to, right? And I just felt the calling that I needed to finally share with people. You know, everybody else can see it, but I had never said these words. And I stood up and I said, you know, I was born with a cleft palate and a cleft lip. And I've been hiding behind that for 46 years. And it was the very first day that I ever said those words out loud. And for me, it was the most empowering day because it was the day that I accepted myself, my own self-acceptance. So 46 years, can you imagine? And then just the feeling of how freeing that was for me. And from that, you know, that was one of my shame. That was like a huge part of my whole childhood and my whole part of my growing up. But, you know, more shame on top of that was I was molested walking to school. 8 years old, 9 years old, 3 times.
Okay, wait, hold on. You have to like slow down because I can only handle so much shame at a time.
I mean, there is so much
hard. It's just kind of like, you're right, you know.
But what I'm sharing with the viewers is that shame that you're holding on and not having a voice. Because again, I couldn't go to my mother when I was being molested. I mean, how could I possibly tell her what happened to me? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Because I knew that what she would say to me was, it was your fault.
I know.
Right?
It's coming.
It was your fault. So
it's not your fault.
I know, but there are so many girls out there. There are so many women out there thinking, I'm the only one. I'm alone. I'm all alone. Nobody else understands. But that's not true. You know, there are so many women who have gone through this and who have been able to overcome. And going through, and that's just, right now I've given you, May, a lot of some of my shame stories. I mean, that's not even the biggie. And I know that you know what my bigger story is. But
I don't actually.
You don't?
No, I don't know any of your story. I'm like, this is the first time you're revealing those to me. So I'm like, catching up.
But what I want to really stress to the viewers out there is you are not alone. And one of the best ways that I found for me to release my shame is to actually speak it.
Right.
Now, so for some people, what they do is they like to journal it. You know, they're not quite ready to share it with somebody. But I feel the most powerful way to do it is to actually share it with somebody. Yeah. I had the pleasure of the fortunate thing of sharing my story in a very small, intimate group at a workshop. And again, the speaker says, who heard an inspirational story out of the people that we were sharing with? And my partner, who I was sharing with, said, I have somebody, I just heard an incredible story. So I was able to stand up in front of a room of 650 people at this workshop to share my life story about my shame and everything that I've overcome. And the amazing thing was that as I shared, you know, people came up to me and said, I can so relate. I don't have the same story as you, but I do have that shame story. Right. And one of the most incredible things that I know that I'm on the right path and the right mission is that a woman came up to me and said, I know what it feels like to be living a lie. Because I was living a lie for 46 years. And what happened with her was that she was raped. She was raped, and when she shared with her first boyfriend what had happened, she lost her boyfriend because he couldn't handle it. And it was in a certain culture that she lives in. Her bigger lie was she just had a baby with her new husband, and she had not shared that secret and that shame with her husband. And it gave her permission to say, you know, the secret and the shame, I really need to release it. I really need to be able to live my life. And that is my bigger mission.
Yeah. And isn't that just so crazy how bad things happen to us and then we carry it as a shame and something that we live with, you know, as if like it's our fault, our stuff, our doing, shame on us for doing that, instead of just like, dude, shit happened to me. I want to tell about it so I can get over it.
Right.
And doggone it, I want to heal, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to get there. I don't know why we do that to ourselves.
Well, we do that because we don't want to be judged. It comes down to we don't want to be judged.
Well,
And,
excuse me, but I think
and,
there's something even bigger than that.
and there's,
We
yeah,
judge ourselves so harshly.
yeah, it's not a, it really is, again, it's your own internal talk, your own internal little voice that's going off. And, you know, as I shared this, you know, you really need to be out there being really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And people see that as a weakness, and that stops them from sharing their story.
Right.
But really, especially if you're in business, when you are able to share yourself and share your story and how you were able to overcome a lot of these challenges that you had, people actually gravitate to you.
Absolutely.
You actually build that know, like, and trust factor. I mean, almost instantly. When you're able to share your vulnerabilities with your audience, then they definitely, you not only have success in your life, but you have success in your business. In your marriage, in your relationship, everything.
It just gives so much space and forgiveness and a space for people to relate and come closer to you instead of, you know, you're always so pretty and so buttoned up and so perfect that I don't know how to relate to you.
Exactly. It's almost like you're not approachable, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a speaker. If you're not approachable, then people just, you're not going to connect with your audience.
Yeah.
And that's what I really share in my signature talks. I say own your story so you can really own your success.
Exactly. And since a lot of women that I work with, they work on both, you know, the career, well, they work on three pieces, the career and the relationship to their kids and also their love life. And when a woman who are dating again, one of the biggest shame that once in a while I get to help them with, because it's such a big shame, they don't talk about this very often, which is the shame of having caught herpes in some part of their life, you know. And oh my gosh, I mean, it will just sink a woman. It will just lock her away and she can't date, or when she does, it gets really awkward and awful, and she can't sustain a relationship because that happened to her. So I also wanted to bring that in here, just because if that ever happened to you, talk to me about it. You know, like, there's so many ways that you can undo that shame and forgive yourself and forgive that event so that you can be loved and receive love too. It's so painful when I work with my clients and they finally come up with that, you know, and to find words around that.
And I believe, especially in relationships, being able to speak to your partner about the shaming issues, whether it be your body image or whatever it may be, you know, the more that you can be vulnerable with that partner, the closer, I guarantee it, you will be with your relationship.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I remember when I was I've been separated from my ex-husband for like 4 years or something like that, and still, you know, very raw and wounded, and then I went to Bali with my then almost boyfriend, you know, like he was we're interested in each other, but it's very tender, and I stood in the ocean and I just kind of blurred out, and I'm like, I don't know if anyone else is gonna love me the way my ex-husband did. He was a very good husband, and he loved me, and you know, can I really trust that will ever happen again? And you know, and that actually was the relief that allowed for my boyfriend to really stood there to support me and say, just let it go, and someone else will come and love you. And like, he's been living up to that promise. You know, he didn't promise in that moment because he didn't want to sound like opportunistic, you know. But at the same time, he was just like reminding me that just let it go, and then you will have love again. And so it's so. Yeah, I love that you're creating this event. So what do you imagine for your event?
Well, this event is on September 13th, and thank you for asking. It is called Speak Your Truth, a women's empowerment event. And I am interviewing women who have a shame story. Not only am I interviewing them, I'm creating an entire website called shareyourinspirationalstory.com. And from those, I will be selecting a few women to actually speak at the event. It will be structured like a TEDx event or TED event, where I'm having the women in 18 minutes share their story to give the inspiration to these women that are attending. And I'm also having a whole healing gallery of all different holistic practitioners, healers, all the different modalities for the women to be able to get support as anything comes up when they're listening to these inspirational stories.
Wow. Yeah. I have to tell you, every time I hear you say you're interviewing women for that, I go to this place of like, my shame is not as big as their shame. I don't know if my shame is good enough for her to choose my shame. I don't know if I should apply. I don't know if I'm worthy. Talk about, like, here's someone who doesn't think that she has shame, and I'm like, that's my tape that goes to every single time I hear you say that. As you can tell, I have not applied.
You're on my list.
Oh my God, I should apply then. I'm like, well, I think I have shame stories, but I don't know if it's good enough.
And everybody's story, it's not whether your story is good enough, my story is better. It's not that.
Thing, right?
It really is, everybody's story is important.
Yeah.
And my hope is not to find the best stories out there. My intention is for you to share your inspirational story. So when another woman hears it, they're going to be able to relate to perhaps your story that is different from somebody else's story. And to be able to say, wow, if she can survive and overcome that shame, so can I. And it gives that woman the hope for her to say, I'm not alone. So I want to hear from everybody who has a story. One of the biggest, with this event, I'm also giving back, and I am supporting a brand new nonprofit called Sisters Who Serve. And these are sisters, veterans who have served our country. And what's happening with them that I'm learning from my friend.
Do you say sisters like nuns, you mean?
No, sisters like sisterhood. Yeah, sisters. Sisters from another mister. It could be sisters, women together. Yeah. Sisters who serve, so veterans who have served our country.
Yeah.
And what's happening with them is when they come out of the service, they're having a hard time finding a job, getting the skills. Even what I'm hearing is they've been sexually, physically, mentally abused by our own servicemen.
Of course.
And the government right now is sweeping them, what their allegations and what they've actually gone through, under the rug. It's such a taboo that they're not allowing these women a way to actually speak their truth.
Talk about shame, right? Our government,
it is shame.
Our whole institute can't handle that shame. I mean, what the heck do we do with that? And then it feels like that one, shame has retribution, and shame has punishment on that one, so nobody wants to take that on either. I think that's another place here that we may need to look at together, which is like, what are the retributions with shame when we start to speak up? Because it doesn't just end right here with me. Like if I say I was molested by blah blah blah, that person is now in the conversations, and they're not ready to. So it has all these impacts on that. Like, how do we handle with shame?
Yeah, it does have a lot of impact, and in the bigger scale with these women veterans, it's going to be an uphill battle to really kind of change how the government is treating these women that serve our country. And the shameful part of it is they're being abused by our own U.S. military men, which is, unforgivable.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like...
It's just like, I can't believe this is happening in our society.
But honey, this has been happening since
it has been happening.
It's just
but
that we're talking about it.
I want to be somebody that can make a difference for these women. So with every ticket that somebody purchases to come to this event, I am gifting and hooking them up with one of these veterans to come into the event.
Oh, yay! A two-for-one.
Yeah, because I wanted to make it so they're the ones in the room. To be able for them to have a safe environment, to feel loved, to feel supported, to be able to have a space for them to have their voice be heard of what happened with them, you know?
Mary, you're on some big fun track right now. I'm so happy for you.
It's big and it's scary, you know, and I can't do it alone. So if this resonates with you, definitely get in contact with me.
It does. Well, I'm so glad that we have this conversation too, because that opens up door for us to support each other even more. You know, I'd love to. I would really love to apply to speak, and also would love to keep helping you promote your event and you know, sponsors or spots or something like that, so that you know you can make it happen, because it's super powerful and so needed, right? And it's in total alignment with my quest to create hot life and hot love in the world for women and couples out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and my form of hot life, hot love, it's not just the pretty stuff. It's not the shallow stuff. If you know me at all, it's always through the hard doors, to the shut doors that we open up to heal and to forgive and to accept and ourselves as is, you know, with cleft palates and all, right? I mean, like, we all have something that we find shameful or not perfect about ourselves, and loving ourselves as is.
That's right. That's right. And knowing that we are enough, you know, that was a big, even as today, you know, I still struggle with it. Am I enough? You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. That's one thing, you know, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I put it out there.
I know. I was just doing a class today with my clients, and then she came out. She said, "I just realized that I have been holding myself at Meryl Streep standard," and I'm like, "Oh my God, that would be just like insane standard." Anyway, our time is up, and
already.
So I know. I'm telling you, 30 minutes of this, it goes by so fast. It's like yummy candy, you know. Anyway, I do want to invite everyone who resonated with this message with Mary and what she's doing to contact her. Her lower third wasn't working. So Mary, will you tell them your website so how they can find you?
They can contact me through Mary Liu, Liu speaker. Mary at MaryLiuSpeaker.com, and you can also find me on Facebook, Mary Liu Speaker, on Twitter, Mary Liu Speaker, and my website is EmpoweredWomenSpeakers.com. And again, my event is September 13th, and I'll be rolling out all the information. I'll pass it on to May. You can pass it on to your viewers.
Yeah, and a lot of my viewers are around the world, you know, in Sweden's and Singapore's and Dubai. So if you are watching this and you resonate with this message and you want to share your shame stories, I am sure Mary would love to receive it and post it on the website somewhere and share that. Right?
Absolutely.
So they can participate. And for me, I have a big hot event coming up, live 2 days in person with me and my partner Lucas Roy Lehman in Pleasanton at the Vets Hall on August 2nd and 3rd. So we are giving you everything we know on how to build your hot life and hot love. So please come, and please bring your man if he's willing to come. It's a 2-day event. It's free. You can reserve your seat for $97, and I will return your money right away on the first day when you sign in and get your badge. I just want you to commit something so that you'll get your butt there. Okay? I know you. You'll find a way to excuses to be too busy, or you can't find babysitters, or oh my gosh, it costs what? How much? I can't come, right? It's free. You just have to put down some money so that you can remember why, where you're going that weekend, August 2nd and 3rd. It's on Main Street, Pleasanton, right in the middle of it all. And we're going to have a wonderful time helping you build your hot life and hot love. If you're dating or if you're in a new relationship, that is the place for you. And even if you're not and you're married and happy, you still get tons out of it. So come to the Hot Life, Hot Love event in August. And you too, Mary, you're welcome to come.
Absolutely. What day was it? August what?
August 2nd and 3rd.
2nd and 3rd. Okay, I'll put it on my calendar.
Mary, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
And for bringing this topic up. If you ever have any more thoughts around shame or anything else, just let me know, and we'll do more conversation. We'll bring more people on the panel, and we can have a more yummy, in-depth conversation. So don't think that this is the only time that we touch shame. All right, have a wonderful rest of the week. Take good care.